Everybody is here?
Some of them, okay.
Some, not really. Those who you do know, are they part of your reading group? Your first time attending. She is the one that's attending. Ah. And the persons are in your reading group?
Yes.
Okay. I see. Okay. So your good wife likes, and you're just supporting your good wife, and things like that. Okay. Thank you. You have a big reading group? Is this everybody here is part of your reading group?
Mataji, Kalpa Mataji is in, and Chandrika Mataji, and Ravi Prabhu. Few of them.
That's it. And everybody else is along for the ride. They like your house. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to go back a few steps to introduce the topic to everybody. During this visit, the plan has been, and we're sticking with the plan, to discuss the prayers of Brahma to Krishna in Vrindavan. Brahma is the firstborn living being. Another name of Brahma is Aja, unborn, because he's not born from a mother. He had no mother. He was born directly from Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. Let's go back even before that. According to the Vedic picture of time, time moves in cycles. Summer, fall, winter, spring. It's winter. But then we know what comes after that, or the cycle of day and night, or the cycle of, it's today's Dwadasi, the cycle of the moon. 28 days as the moon moves through nakshatras, then it does it again. And does it. Time moves in Kala Chakra. Time moves in cycles. And one of those cycles is the creation of the universe, the maintenance of the universe, the annihilation of the universe, and for equal duration of the manifestation of the universe, the Vedic picture says, for that equal duration of time, the universe is unmanifest. That's a long time. And then when the bell rings, or when it's time, again creation. Because there's two things, along with the controller of both. There's Prakriti, the material energy, and there's the living entity. Because matter doesn't move without the touch of the living entity. Without the touch of spirit, matter doesn't move. Matter moves when there's touch. So when the living entities, when it's time for annihilation, it's really simple. Lord Vishnu pulls the plug. He withdraws his time energy, and the whole thing collapses. It's like these displays people put up at Christmas time. You know, they pump in some helium or whatever they put, and then there's this guy. And then in the morning, they pull the plug. He's just this pile of something in their front lawn. That's the cosmic annihilation. The material energy doesn't come into being. But with the movements of time, and behind the movements of time is Vishnu, his time energy is extended, it's maintained for some time, and then it's withdrawn, and then resting. So when the creation takes place, I hope you like science. Everybody likes science, right? This is Vedic science. Mahavishnu breathes. As he breathes, from the pores of his body come these little golden seeds. It's the seed of a universe. And when he's breathing, exhaling, those seeds contact the material energy. Pradhan. What's pradhan? It's a nice word. Pradhan means the totality of all material elements in its undifferentiated state. I liken it to a big warehouse that's all jumbled up. Everything's there, but it's in disarray. It's not organized. By his glance of Mahavishnu, he glances over Pradhan, and with his glance, there go the living entities and his time energy. And when the living entities and the time energy contact material nature in its undifferentiated state, it gets agitated. And when it gets agitated, it's like a pregnancy where the womb of the mother is receiving the seed from the father, and there's pregnancy. So the glands, as the living entities, are injected into Pradhan, and it becomes agitated. And then the elements start separating out. 24. But it's just elements. There's no anything yet. It's just elements differentiated. And the breathing of Mahavishnu, the universes are expanded, like seeds start to expand. They come in touch with Mahatattva, that's the differentiated material elements. And the elements cling to those seeds. And the universe continues to grow with shell, with layers of the material elements, 7 layers. Then Mahavishnu, who is the source of those universes, he expands into each and every one of those universes as the second Vishnu. Mahavishnu, second one, Garbho Dakshayi Vishnu. Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, Garbha. It's like a womb, and he enters into the womb of the universe, and half the universe is filled with the Garbhodak water, so to speak, perspiration from the body of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. He reclines on the Garbhodak ocean, on the bed of Anantashesh, because Anantashesh just likes to serve Vishnu. So Mahavishnu is lying on the bed of Anantashesh, and by his own potencies, we're going to see something about his own potencies as soon as I stop this story. By his own potencies, the totality of living entities, one universe's worth of living entities, they're within his body, and the karma, check this out, the karma of the living entities that was dormant during annihilation becomes activated by time and the living entity. And so the totality of the karma of the living entity manifests from his navel as a lotus stem, a lotus flower, and on top of the lotus flower appears Lord Brahma. It's a very interesting creation story. And then what does Brahma do? Well, he's very intelligent. We discussed this today. He's everything, very pious, very intelligent, filled with creative potency. That's the mode of passion, but very intelligent. He's the dean of all engineering departments. He's not just, an engineer. He's mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, civil engineer, and he's the dean of them all. But he hasn't done anything yet, because he starts to ask questions like intelligent people will do, like, where did I come from? Who am I? What am I supposed to do? What's my duty? He's in this reflecting, inquisitive mode, and he hears the water of the Garbhodak ocean beneath him, the splashing of the waves of the Garbhodak ocean. So he uses his rational capacity, considers, if I just follow the stem of this lotus, I'll find out where I came from. Very logical. And he climbs down the stem, and down 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 and down, and he can't find the end. Then his rational faculty says, I'm not going to find it out this way. And right at that, when he's ready, he hears ta-pa, 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 3 times. And he knows what that means, because he's very intelligent. He's supposed to perform austerity, tapasya. So he climbs back up the stem, sits on the lotus, and when he's in that readied position, he receives mantra. From whom does he receive it? Well, he receives 2 mantras. One is from not his good wife Saraswati, but the prototype Saraswati. Well, that's another topic, what's a prototype Saraswati, but that's who he receives. Gayatri mantra. One of his 2 Gayatri mantras, and he meditates and chants his mantra. And what's going on? It's just, there's nothing. I mean, there's no light. It's darkness in all directions. He doesn't have anybody to talk to. He's like, no cell phone, nothing. It's just nothing. But he wants to know. So we also need to want to know to get from where we are to the stage of knowing who we are. We want to know who we are, not just in a superficial way. Because in the morning class, we discussed what happens to people who don't know who they are. They normally accept some identity of who they aren't. There's the word at the bottom, avikrivat, or it's very similar to upadhi. It's just a covering of who we're not, and we identify with who we're not. And there's a way to get free from who we're not, but not yet know who we are. And then that leads to a certain realization of what's beyond the temporary, the impersonal realization. That's what's described in this verse. So he's chanting his mantra, and something very wonderful happens. Lord Vishnu manifests himself before him in this darkness. And he's, of course, luminous, effulgent. And it's not just him, it's his eternal abode. It's called, in Sanskrit, the term is Yogpith. It's the center of his existence, his abode. And he's not alone. He's with all these different energies. We'll see shortly. Well, I'll go quickly to that verse. Where is it? There it is. The Lord, so he saw the Vishnu, he moved toward Vishnu because, it's just darkness, but he's revealing his spiritual identity. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies, namely the 4, the 16, and the 5. I can say what those are, but there's unlimited energies. And he was endowed with his 6 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord, enjoying his own abode. Now this shows where there's light. It does show the waves, but there was no light except him, light coming from him. And then his various energies. So that's what we're going to see here. So Vishnu, he asked some questions. Vishnu said, you pleased me very much by chanting your mantra so nicely and doing your austerities so nicely. Please ask any benediction from me that you like. And Brahma's very intelligent. He asked for more than one. One of them is, he said, when but in your presence, I understand I meant to create a universe on your behalf. Whoops. On your behalf. There we go. Your behalf. So when I do this, please protect me from the false ego of thinking that I'm creating a universe. I'm simply your servant, an instrument of your will, and that's who I am. So right away he understood. He's not the body Brahma, he's the spirit soul Brahma, because within the body of Brahma is a jiva, just like within our body is a jiva. The body is the machine, and the jiva is moving the machine. Matter doesn't move without the touch of spirit. So please free me from the false egoistic conception that I'm going to create a universe. And you can substitute what he can pray for, what we can pray for. That I don't think I'm, fill in the blank of what we think we are. Through the medium of false ego, this upadhi thing. And we all know what ours are. And they change in the course of our life. Once upon a time, we were little. And we were thinking whatever we were thinking. And now the body has not only grown, but the body has changed so many times. And now we're in this one, whatever stage it is. And that's going to change, and we're thinking we are this one, the body and the thoughts and the emotions connected with those thoughts and the situations of life, and that's me. So Brahma prayed for protection from thinking in illusion, that I'm the creator of the universe. And then the second thing he asked, he had 4 questions, which make up the essential message of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. Those of you that are in the Bhagavatam reading groups, please note down, and whatever you do for noting things down, Canto 2, Chapter 9, text 30 through 33. I mean, the questions precede that, but the answers, that's the essential message of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, is in those verses. Important verses. So he asked for those 2 things. Vishnu gave him the answer, and Brahma then went about his business, creating a universe free from false ego. And then there's details of how that happened. And then once the universe was built, he had another service. He had to populate the universe, fill it up with living entities, to allow the living entities to fulfill their karmic desires. Because these 2 things are operating with material nature, guna and karma. So you have to have variety. So he made the arrangements for the variety of living entities. And life's been going on for quite some time now. And at a certain point in time, it's very specific according to Vedic teaching, he came to visit where Krishna was performing his pastimes in Vrindavan. And he happened to come at a very special time. Krishna was taking care of, he was 4 years old from the time of his appearance. He's eternal, but he was 4 years old, and a little 4-year-old body with 4-year-old boyfriends and lots of calves, going out into the forest and doing what little 4-year-old boys do, playing what a little 4-year-old boys do. They were supposedly herding the calves, but they were just playing, and the calves were just following them because they loved Krishna. It wasn't like that. even before he was 4, that they would follow him because of their loving, eternal relationship. So he's out in the forest. The boys are in a playful mood. They come across this giant serpent lying in a path that they travel every day, and they've never seen this thing before. So it's like, what's this? And they say, maybe this, maybe that, maybe the other thing. And as they, let's go explore, because they're in a playful mood, boys. They got closer, and they smelled this terrible, bad, fishy smell coming from the mouth of this giant serpent, Aghasura. And some of the boys went, uh-oh, he's trying to kill us. Let's get out of here. They started to run. And some other boys said, no. Whatever he is, because they had lots of different ideas of what the thing might be. Maybe it's just a playground. Krishna created this wonderful playground for us to go inside and check it out. But even if it is a demon who has some bad intentions, Krishna will protect us. He's always protected us. Let's go. So off they went. And when they went inside the mouth of Aghasura, the calves followed right behind them with their tails raised in the air and moo, and off they went inside the mouth of the Aghasura demon. But the demon didn't close his mouth yet because he wanted Krishna. But Krishna was watching all this. And Krishna knew what to do. I mean, there's a nice detail. Krishna became amazed at his own Yogamaya potency. Check it out. One of the primary potencies, just like this says, all these potencies are under the control of Krishna's potency. And Krishna's potency is called Satya Sankalpa Shakti. Satya means truth. Sankalpa means intention. Shakti means potency. He just desires. And the other energies start to move based upon his desire, Ichcha, or Satya Sankalpa. So he didn't want the cowherd boys to go in the mouth of the serpent, but they went in the mouth of the serpent anyway. So he was contemplating, my Yogamaya potency is very wonderful. Even it's checked my Satya Sankalpa potency. How wonderful. And then the next moment he knew exactly what to do. He went into the mouth of the Aghasura demon, closed his mouth, and Krishna exhibited one of his mystic powers. We're going to see shortly a list of his mystic powers. And as one of those is he just becomes big and big and big. And what's the limit of how big he can become? There's no limit, unlimitedly big. And this giant serpent, also his body was expanding, because serpents, they were like a boa constrictor kind of thing. Bigger and bigger, but Krishna was too big. So his air of life was checked, he suffocated, and he died, meaning the soul left the body. The soul left the body through the soft spot in the top of his head, just like humans have one. Brahmarandra it's called, right? You familiar? Little babies have a little soft spot on their head. So it's there. That's how yogis, go to where they want to go, through that place. So the soul of Aghasura left his body that way, and it was hovering in the air or in the sky like a bright light. Krishna exited the mouth of Aghasura, and that soul merged into Krishna's body. Krishna gave him liberation. Sayuja Mukti. And the boys saw this, and they went, wow, that was really good. Let's go have lunch. We're hungry. 4-year-old boys. So they went to have lunch. And when they went to have lunch, they all sat around, Krishna in the center. And like in Krishna's rasa dance, Krishna expanded himself with each of the gopis, right? So Krishna expanded himself with each of the cowherd boys. And they thought, oh, Krishna is so attached to me, he's just paying attention to me alone. But he wasn't just paying attention to one. It was his unlimited potency. But the other boys couldn't see it. But Brahma saw. He was, watching all this because he had come to visit, and he saw the Aghasura demon being killed. He saw the soul merging with Krishna's body, and he saw these boys sitting around having lunch right after that. Like, wow. I wonder. So this super soul is inside the heart of every living entity, including Brahma, including us, including a microbe, including an ant, including anything, a tree, a cat, a bird. Super soul was there. Super soul prompted him to assist in the pastime. So he started having this curiosity. I wonder what's the limit of Krishna's power, of Krishna's potencies. It's a nice question. We also want to wonder something. But what he did with that wonderment wasn't good. Let me match my potencies against his potencies and see what it'll do. So what did he do? While the boys were sitting having lunch, the calves started wandering, grazing. And after some time, the boys said, hey, the calves have gone elsewhere. Krishna said, don't worry, I'll bring them back. You continue with your lunch. So he got up, went looking for the calves. He looked everywhere, couldn't find them. Why he couldn't find them is because Brahma kidnapped the calves and put them in a cave. Not good. And then when Krishna came back, he didn't see the cowherd boys because they had been kidnapped and put in a cave too. Don't kidnap Krishna's cowherd boys or calves. That's a no-no. Besides, kidnapping is a crime. It's like you don't interrupt Krishna's pastimes. Whoever you are, don't interrupt Krishna's pastimes. But he did, inspired by super soul within. So then he went back and, what's going on? So looked in the cave, and they were in the cave. Went back, and there they were having lunch. So that's what this picture is. And you see all the cowherd boys having their lunch, but simultaneous with the cowherd boys having their lunch, four-armed Narayan forms were manifest for each one of the cowherd boys. And you know how many cowherd boys there were? According to the Bhagavatam, asankhya-taha. Too many to count. It's a big number. There were a lot of cowherd boys. And that many forms of Narayan, each being worshipped by the personified Vedas and all of the potencies of, whoops, what happened here? Here we go. There we go. All the Vishnu Murtis were surrounded by the opulences, headed by Anima Siddhi. That's a mystic power. By the mystic potencies headed by Aja, and by the 24 elements for the creation of the material world headed by the Mahatattva. Now these 24 elements have their spirit. Those of this world have their counterpart in the spiritual world. Everything that's here has its spiritual counterpart. And everything that has that spiritual counterpart is a person and has form. Just like God. God's not just like a force. God's a person. From the person comes force. But he's not just force, just like, well, let's keep going. Then Lord Brahma saw that Kala, Swabhava, Samskara, Kama, Karma, and the gunas, their own independence being completely subordinate to the potency of the Lord, that's the Satya Sankalpa potency. They just do his bidding. Turn left, turn right, go here, go there, yes, and off they go. And that's in the spiritual plane where they had all taken forms and were worshipping those Vishnumurtis. So, how can you realize God? And how can you realize the personal form of God? It has to be revealed to you. Otherwise, good luck. Or it's not going to happen. You can realize to some degree, you can realize behind the facade of everything, there's a higher reality. I would guess that everybody here has that conviction. There is a higher reality. And if you don't know the higher reality as a person, you may think of that higher reality as an entity, a being, a force, the supreme power. Or Star Wars, it's the Force. Right? I mean, I didn't see the thing, but I've heard that phrase. The Force. Is that what they use? The Force. So there's a higher reality. But to realize that high reality as Bhagavan, because that's what Bhagavad Gita says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Bhagavan, what is Bhagavan? Bhagavan. Van means one who possesses bhagas. What are bhagas? It's opulences. And that's the 6 we read from Canto 2, Chapter 9. His 6 opulences. All strength, all beauty, all knowledge, all renunciation, all fame. He's full. All wealth. Somebody has some wealth. And then somewhere there's somebody who has more wealth and somebody that has more wealth. But who can say they have all wealth? No one can say that, but Krishna, Bhagavan, has all wealth. All wealth. Everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate. Everything comes from him, it's all his. No one else can say that. So what we think is ours is actually his. And we can use it, and according to guna and karma, we will use it. But if our self-consciousness, our spiritual realization or self-realization is awakened, we'll understand it's not ours. We'll just use it in service to the one who it belongs to. That's called spiritual life. The art of living, right? The art of living. Engage the energies of the Supreme in service to the Supreme. Live in harmony with the Supreme. And how do we do that? Well, there's codes. That's what Dharma is for. It's how you do that. How you use this and that and the other thing and offer it to the Supreme. And that's how we live our life. That's when you're in harmony with the Supreme. And if you don't have that, then you do something else and become entangled in karma. So these potencies are all there in their personified form. And to realize the personified form, Brahma had the privilege of having it shown to him. Because who's in front of him? It's this little 4-year-old boy. And who are all these other boys? They're Krishna's expansions. They're him. Krishna expanded himself. It's really nice. Here's one of the nice things about this wonderful Leela. The mothers of the little boys that were his friends, they had affection for Krishna more than they had affection for their own little boys. And that doesn't happen in this world. Mothers can like other little boys, but they have natural special affection for their son. But these mothers, all of them, they had affection for their son, but they had special affection for Krishna, even more than for their sons. So they desired whoa. Oh. So they desired to have Krishna as their son. Everybody focus. they desired to have Krishna as their son. So you know what? Krishna became their son. How did he do that? He had the cowherd boy, his friends, get kidnapped, and for a whole year, he expanded himself in identical likeness of each boy. So much so the mothers didn't even recognize it wasn't my son, it was Krishna. I mean, what mother doesn't know who their son is? But the sons came from Krishna, and the expansions of Krishna were exact replicas. Voice, personality, everything. For a whole year. They grew, because 4-year-old boys could become a little bigger after 1 year. So Krishna played his part. So their affection for their son could be fully reposed upon Krishna. And the calves, because the cows also desired to give their milk directly to Krishna, because they loved Krishna. So Krishna became their calf for a whole year. It's a really nice description. And Balaram didn't even know what was going on, because he wasn't there. Yogamaya. Towards the end of the year, Balaram started to piece it together. Wait a minute. And then he asked Krishna, what's going on? Is this what's going on? Krishna smiled, confirmed. Wonderful pastime. Wonderful pastime. This statement, now remember that the desire of the mothers was to have Krishna as their son. Desire of the cows was to be able to give Krishna their milk directly. The desire of Brahma was the limit of Krishna's powers. Answer? No limit. And he saw it. And he saw it in such a way that he knew all of that was coming from that little boy. Because he's not just a little boy. He's the source of everything. To realize the personal feature of the Supreme, it takes bhakti. And with bhakti, it takes the reciprocation of the Supreme. And we're all eligible, because we're all eternally devoted parts of Krishna meant for his service. We just have to come out of our amnesia state and remember. Small thing coming out of amnesia, but it's doable. That's the bhakti process. So this other reference, so here's the verse in Sanskrit. Atarkya nija mahimani. Money is the jewel. Mahimani. Nija mahimani. It's his atarkya, inconceivable, his own opulences. So Brahma fainted. And when he came to external consciousness, he started offering prayers. And that's what we've been discussing. This is all to give a background. And the last few verses, this same thing is being said here. Same thing is being said here in Uddhava Gita, Canto 11. Those of you in the Bhagavatam reading group, you can look forward to hearing yet further clarity on what we just got a little summary of. And here's where we are, text 7. In these verses, Brahma is honoring the bhakti process in contrast or in comparison to the speculative process. So the speculative process is something that philosophers and scientists used. Here's the translation. In time, learned philosophers or scientists might be able to count all the atoms of the earth, the particles of snow, or perhaps even the shining molecules radiating from the sun, the stars, and other luminaries. But among these learned men, who could possibly count the unlimited transcendental qualities possessed by you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have descended onto the surface of the earth for the benefit of all living entities? He's indicating that it's not possible. It's not possible to know the limits of the unlimited, other than knowing it's unlimited. He is unlimited and his powers and potencies are unlimited. Even if you can do Mission Impossible, You can't do that one. It's comparing the Gyan process, the ascending process of knowledge. You learn this and then learn that and then learn, just like, a modern education system. And then keep going and the sky's the limit and keep going. But even if you can do that, you can't know the limits of the unlimited transcendental qualities. Who, one of his wonderful qualities, he came to earth to benedict living entities. This is a nice painting of Krishna speaking to Uddhava Gita, and basically Uddhava is saying the same thing to Krishna. And Krishna's smiling, confirming. So, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful? And Brahma is having this realization also by Krishna's mercy. This is another scene where Uddhava again is approaching Krishna. Behind Uddhava approaching Krishna is Maitreya. It's a nice scene. So this is where Krishna is speaking Uddhava Gita, Maitreya is hearing Uddhava Gita, and later he speaks it to Vidura. Very beautiful painting. One of the things that Uddhava says is similar to what Brahma says. That is, the kindness that Krishna showed to Putana. What did Putana do? What earned her kindness from Krishna? She disguised herself as a devotee with the intention to kill Krishna. So Brahma is saying, you gave a place in the spiritual world to Putana as one of the nurses assisting Mother Jasoda in the spiritual world. And she was this bad person. And all she did was she disguised herself as a devotee. So what are you going to do for the Brijbasis? How are you going to repay them? And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary is very short. He says, very simply, he can't. And Krishna says, I'm unable to compensate you for all of the service. You're going to be happy. You're going to have to be happy with your love for me. Because I can't repay you. Not like he's been purchased and his repayment or something. But, the love is very special. Brahma is a visitor, and he's seeing the residents, and their love is beyond his comprehension. And the kindness that Krishna is showing by appearing in this world and showing him what he showed him. Brahma is not going to be a cowherd boy. Brahma is going to go back to Brahmaloka and do Brahmaloka things. And the cowherd boys are going to continue eternally being in loving relationship with Krishna very directly. So how fortunate are they, and how are you going to repay them? It's mentioned in this verse that you delivered not only Putana, but her two brothers. Baka was one, Bakasura, and Aghasura was the other. They got liberation. Why? They tried to kill Krishna. But they were related to Putana, so they got liberated too. So you become a nice devotee, and all your family members get benefit. That's a fact. That's a fact. We'll hear about it this next Wednesday. But the story, it's also in this 10th canto. King Nriga was the son of Ikshvaku. We know who Ikshvaku was, right? Vivaswan's son, who started the Ikshvaku, line in Ayodhya, etc., etc. So his first son, direct son, was King Nriga. King Nriga made an unintentional mistake in the course of giving charity, etc., etc. He became cursed to become a lizard. Krishna rescued him. You know the story? The king became a lizard. He was taken before the court of Yamaraj. You've done so much good work, but you've made this mistake. You gave away the property of a Brahmin. You can't take and give the property of a Brahmin. So you made a mistake, and they cursed you. So now, tell me, do you want to enjoy the fruits of all of your unlimited piety, or do you want to get it out of your way and take care of the reaction for your wrongdoing? He said, I'll do the wrongdoing first. Okay. Boom, he became a lizard. He tells Krishna, I felt myself becoming a lizard. And it was a long time ago. He was in the bottom of that well for a long time. And when he was rescued, he didn't just become King Riga again, he became a demigod. So Krishna acted like he didn't understand, who are you, how did this happen to you? He told his story. But the good fortune, the transcendental good fortune was not his piety in becoming a demigod. The transcendental good fortune was, in his charitableness, this is from our commentators, Vishwanath Chakravarti. It's really nice, I like it. One Brahmin asked him for some charity. He asked for charity of building a temple for his deity. And he asked him for all the devotional scriptures to be gifted to him. King Riga arranged it. The Brahmana was very, very grateful and said, I give you this benediction that one day you will see the Supreme Lord. And from that day, King Riga had this unstoppable desire to see the Supreme Lord. Not just his charity. So it's described, his devotion was mixed. He wanted to see the Supreme Lord, but he also, it was kind of like hedging. I want the fruits of this pious work. By giving charity to Brahmanas and giving cows and wealth and so many things he gave, he had a big stockpile of good karma coming his way. And he knew it. At the same time, he had a desire to see Krishna, so his desire was fulfilled. And when he saw Krishna, all those material desires went away. Same with Brahma. When he saw Krishna, the material desires went away. Okay, so here's Krishna in different rasas, and here's Krishna and the gopis. I'm going quickly because I've been talking too much. Brahma declares, you have unlimited qualities, and each of them are expandable to an unlimited degree. Yet the impersonalists do not and cannot realize these qualities. So what about them? Try to conceive what is unlimitedly beautiful, what unlimitedly beautiful means. How beautiful is unlimitedly beautiful? How attractive is unlimitedly attractive? How compassionate is unlimitedly compassionate? We can't conceive of it. You can conceive of something beautiful or something compassionate or something attractive. But Brahma is realizing the unlimitedness of the unlimited. I now wish to describe both the internal and external activities of bhakti. Because he's the head of our sampradaya, he's giving bhakti, because bhakti is the means to attain Krishna's association and have these wonderful realizations. So he's going to describe the bhakti process, internal and external. So this is a celebrated verse. Celebrated verse. For any of you who have gone through anyone has gone through difficulty in life? Ever? Is there someone that's never gone through difficulty? Everyone goes through difficulty because it's the nature of the place. Dukkhalayam shashvatam. It's the nature of the place. My dear Lord, one who earnestly, susamikshamano, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy, anukampam, upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, atmakritam, and offering you respectful obeisances within his heart, with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become sadaya bhak, his rightful claim. So this is wonderful instruction. It's in Bhagavad Gita twice, in purport. And you'll find it again and again. Because it's something that we all face. We face hardships and difficulties and the fruits of our karma. And when the fruits of your karma come, it doesn't feel good. And when it doesn't feel good, you can say, ouch. Or you can cry, or you can blame somebody or something. There's something else that you can do, though. You can understand this result is coming because of something I've done, and I accept it. I accept it. But I won't budge an inch from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. I won't move from there. And one who does like that, offering respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. You see, in really big letters there is Jiveta. We'll hear something from Jiva Goswami about Jiveta. Some persons think, well, things happen because it's fate. And what can I do because there's the hand of fate and there's nothing I can do. It's just go along, row your boat, and fate comes along and nothing really I can do about it. But there is, when the reactions to past deeds comes along your way, you can't do anything about the reaction coming, but there is something you can do. You will do. We're making choices. Free will is operative every moment. We can choose how to respond to what's coming our way. And a life of devotion is we choose that which is pleasing to Krishna. We may not even know exactly what is pleasing to Krishna, but if that's the choice, then Krishna, you're more likely to get intelligence from the Super Soul, what's pleasing to him. And if the Krishna channel isn't on, you get the other one. It's all about me. Okay, so this is a nice painting. It's a painting of Prithu Maharaj seated on the throne with his expansion, his consort. And we see in the upper left, that's Lord Vishnu with 4 arms. In the upper right is Lord Shiva, and they're offering gifts upon his coronation, Prithu. And Vishnu offers, as Brahma was offered, whatever you'd like. So Prithu's response is he says, Yata chared bala hitam pita swayam, which means, as a father not waiting for the son's demand, does everything for the benefit of the son, please bestow upon me whatever you think best for me. So depending upon the mercy of the Supreme. Whether it's, and it has the label of good fortune or ill fortune, whatever is best for me. And if that's the regard that you have towards the Supreme Father, if you need correction, he'll correct you. Lovingly, but correction. And if he wants to give, like Vishwanath says, sometimes the father will give sweet milk. Sometimes he'll give bitter nimba juice. And the child might think, why are you giving me bitter? Because it'll make you well. You have a disease that can be best addressed by something bitter. Sometimes his father will embrace his son, sometimes his father will scold the son. It's not when the father is scolding the son, he's cruel, although the child may think otherwise. But from the loving relationships, so Krishna may interact with us in ways that is best for us. It depends on how we have regard for him. This is another painting, and I'm going way over time. The painting is showing King Chitraketu in that Vimana up there in the sky. King Chitraketu had become a very elevated, topmost devotee, Uttama Bhakta, topmost devotee. So much so, he had a relationship with Lord Shiva where they were like equals. So he went to pay a visit once to his friend. I mean, respectful relationship, but that kind of high-level consciousness. While Lord Shiva was giving a class, there's Narada Muni, there's Vyasadeva, there's many great sages, and while he was sitting giving his talk, there you see Parvati is on his lap. And Chitraketu made a remark, which was meant as praise for Lord Shiva, but Parvati took it as a criticism. Like, who could do this? She thought she was criticizing Shiva, but who could be speaking transcendental knowledge with your wife on your lap? That's how she took it. So she stood up and scolded him and cursed him to become a demon for offending Lord Shiva. So what did Chitraketu do? He got down from his vimana, came before Parvati with folded palms, and didn't correct her. Didn't say, I've been misunderstood, but it's somehow it's the will of the Supreme, so I accept. I'll become a demon. And spoke a number of things, circumambulated her, went away and became a demon. And then Parvati scolded her. Said, you're saying he's the offender, but you're the offender. Because just see the consciousness of Chitraketu. Whether Narayana Paraksarge Nakutaschana Bibyati Svarga, Apavarga, Narakeshu. Svarga, heaven. Apavarga, liberation. Narakeshu, go to hell. So supposing somebody said, go to hell, and you went, you're not going to say thank you. But his mind was equipoised. And sure enough, he became a demon, and sure enough, very quickly he was liberated and achieved the spiritual world. Fast lane, really, like, very quickly. That was what was the result, because his consciousness was fixed. So it may look like a bad situation. Now this is we're not on this level of consciousness, but the Bhagavatam is teaching us how to deal with misfortune. That's in this verse 8. It's a good one to learn. Devotees often know the verse and say it when something bad happens. Not just say it, but absorb themselves. Same thing happened here. This is Indra. He did a bad thing. And Krishna relieved him of his pride. Actually, it was a pastime specifically to relieve Krishna of his pride, to relieve Indra of his pride. There's Surabhi ready to give him Abhishek, Airavata giving him Abhishek with celestial waters, Indra offering his prayers. Because Krishna was kind to him. He did a bad thing, but Krishna didn't scold him. Krishna just relieved his pride, and it worked. This is one of Prabhupada's books, Nectar of Devotion, where he speaks of this Tatenukampam verse. This statement of Srimad Bhagavatam should be the guide of all the devotees. That is the only solace. If the devotee passes his days in that spirit, it is certain that he is going to be promoted to the abode of the Lord. chapter 10, expecting the Lord's mercy. And our last slide is this one. No, it's second to last. This is Jiva Goswami, who writes his commentary on this verse. All you have to, Jiveta, be alive. All you have to do is be alive. Alive in devotion, alive and awake in relationship with Krishna. Mukti Pade Sudayabhak is how the verse ends. Prabhupada explains like this. In Vedic culture, if the son survives the father, the son inherits the property of the father. Correct? If the son survives the father, whatever is the property of the father, the son inherits. He inherits his debts too. But he inherits his property. So the property of the Supreme Lord, his abode, one inherits. And the qualification is Jiveta. All you have to do is be alive in devotion. And this is Vishwanath's writing. And this is our last slide for this evening. Now that other processes have been rejected and bhakti accepted as the process to attain Bhagavan, the process of bhakti is described. The devotee understands that the happiness and distress that he experiences due to performing bhakti and committing aparads are the mercy of the Lord. It is like that father who sometimes makes his child drink milk, I mentioned this, and sometimes make him drink bitter nima juice, and sometimes embraces and kisses him, and sometimes beats him. The devotee thinks that this is the arrangement of the Lord working for his benefit. The Lord knows what I do not know. Karma and time have no effect on the devotee, so it is his personal arrangement. By his mercy, he sometimes gives me happiness and sometimes gives me distress, considering how to engage me in his service. So a very important verse, celebrated verse, and taken directly from Brahma's prayers, verse number 8. The children quieted down. What happened? You gave them some ice cream or something? Okay, see if there's some discussion. Go ahead. Turn it the other way. Powerful sound system. Krishna Shakti.
Thank you, Maharaj. This final slide that was saying that we simply need to be alive in Krishna consciousness. How do we make sense of this in relation with the verse which says that one may go on chanting for many, many lifetimes and still not get Krishna prema if one still has offenses in his heart?
How do the two fit together?
Yes.
Well, I was just this morning hearing Srila Prabhupada explain. This was the Nectar Devotion Lectures in Vrindavan, 1973, Kartik. Prabhupada was explaining that the stage of bhakti begins when one is self-realized. So if anyone here self-realized? So what are we doing if we're not doing devotional service? We're doing devotional service, but devotional service begins when you're self-realized. Prabhupada was paraphrasing a very important verse from Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. na sochati, na kangsati, samak sarveshu bhuteshu. And the last line, mad bhaktim labate param. When once attains devotional service, or devotional service begins. So there's devotional service that's practice, like you practice at anything, and then you have to perform what you practice. Like, let's say, I don't know, medicine, or anything, basketball, or something. Then there's the actual performance. So then bhakti begins means pure bhakti. And so there's chanting, but then there's chanting when you're alive, or when you're self-realized. So when there's chanting without offense, that's chanting when you're alive, where you're awake in your relationship with Krishna. Let's say the opposite. How many of us who are regularly chanting are distracted when chanting? Every one of us. When we're chanting, we're distracted. And when we're chanting, when we're not distracted, because that's the root of offense is inattention. So we're chanting with full attention, literally rapt attention. That's what this is. So there's the behavior, and then there's the Krishna consciousness behind the behavior. So when one is awake in one's relationship with Krishna, alive and awake in one's relationship with Krishna. So we're in the practice stage. We're not awake and alive. We're practicing to get purification and to get to the place of consciousness where we're awake and alive in our relationship with Krishna. And that's when the 10 offenses are cleared. Anybody else would like to share something? Oh, fantastic. We have a little microphone because there are some people who are not in the room with us. So if you speak into the microphone, they can hear you too. Yeah, remove the mask.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hi, Krishna.
So I had a question because I've heard in a few other lectures that I'm pretty sure like 1 moment for Brahma is 1 year for us.
Yes, that's correct.
So then how did Brahma steal the calves? Because 1 moment would be 1 year for us. So like how long was Krishna searching for the calves?
It was 1 year.
I mean, like, Brahma abducted the calves, so, like, that would, like, take a few seconds or something.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't
We
know.
could say instead of taking a moment, to say a few seconds, became a year. Are you happy now? However long it took, that's how long, what year passed.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Here's another thing. Within Krishna's Leela, time and space are very flexible. Very flexible. You seem to have some idea of things. So those who are attached to Krishna, 1 moment that passes in separation from Krishna seems like a yuga. Thousands of years when waiting to meet with Krishna, it seems like a long time. But on the other hand, in a flash, Krishna's there. You know the Dhruva Maharaj story? Oh, great. When Dhruva was meditating, within his heart he saw Lord Vishnu, right?
Yeah.
And then while he's meditating on Lord Vishnu, there's this discussion in Brahma, with the demigods go to Lord Vishnu saying, help, we can't breathe. What's going on? We've never had this happen before. And Vishnu said, don't worry. He's just a little boy. He's doing some austerities. He's powerful. I'll go take care of it. You can go back to your heavenly abodes. Everything will be nice. So when his meditation broke, he was startled, Dhruva. And he opened his eyes. And who was standing in front of him was the same Lord that he saw inside his heart. So let me ask you, he was in his heart, but he was being spoken to by the demigods in the abode of Vishnu. So which one was it that appeared before him? Whether the Lord in his heart or the one that was in the spiritual world where the demigods were praying? You follow the question?
Yeah.
The answer is what? Here's the answer. Vishnu is all pervasive. Let's take a guess, an estimate, and say, here in the room there may be 30 people, maybe 35, whatever the number is. So how many super souls are there in this room? Inside the human forms. How many? 35 or 1?
About maybe 35.
1. Variously manifest. The example given in Scripture is, supposing you see, this is scriptural, supposing you see a bunch of pots and it's midday somewhere, and you see in each pot there's the sun, there's the sun, there's the sun. But it's one sun being reflected in each of the pots. Super soul is within the heart of everyone, but it's the same super soul. The same super soul that's in my heart is in your heart, is in each one of our hearts. It's the same super soul. So when he disappeared, he's simultaneously in the abode of Vishnu, where the demigods went to pray. And then he didn't take any time at all. Didn't take a second. It didn't take a few seconds. He just poof, because he's all pervasive. Time and space are very flexible in the spiritual realm. It's just to serve Krishna's pastimes. So this was one of Krishna's pastimes. So whether it was a second or a few moments. And so the intention of Krishna was to satisfy the desires of the mothers, to be their son. And he did a fantastic job. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Online question. Go ahead.
This is from Neena Mataji from Naperville. She says that you kindly mentioned that we all have spiritual counterparts in Vaikuntha.
We have spiritual... Everything, what I said was, everything as above, so below. So everything here has its spiritual counterpart. You can say we have our spiritual counterpart. We have our place in the spiritual world. It's now covered.
So our question is, we mortals have spiritual counterparts back there. So our quest to understand who we really are, is it basically to understand our counterpart?
No.
And how?
It's just so to say that there's everything that exists here has its counterpart in the spiritual world doesn't mean we have a twin. Identical twin. That's not what it means. As you know, it's particularly as far as the soul is concerned, we're in a covered condition. So what's being manifest in this realm is the covered condition of who we really are. There's a spiritual counterpart of who we are. We don't know who we are. We're thinking we're something. A man or a woman or, this or that, or young or old or whatever we think we are. And then there's the reality of who we are. And this is a reflection of that. That's what it means. Nice try, though. Anything in the back there? Yes. Amrita Kelly.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for this slide. It's really very heart-touching. And as I was hearing from you again and again, things are starting to get a little bit clear. One of the struggling area for me, particularly for King Chitraketu, or to some extent for Jada Bharat, it almost seemed like Krishna is not fair. It's not really so much of a mistake from them, and they're like kind of, their intention is not bad. I don't know if I can put Jada Bharat also into the same category as King Chitraketu.
Who are you referring to? Which pastime are you referring to?
King Chitraketu.
What?
King Chitraketu.
King Chitraketu.
I'm also thinking of Jada Bharat, Guru Maharaj.
So what's not fair? He was put in the fast lane.
Yeah, somehow that became a little clear, Guru Maharaj, today, as you were saying.
He didn't lose his consciousness. His consciousness was fully protected. Fully protected. And Jad Bharat also, fully protected. Circumstances were what the circumstances were, fully protected.
So can we understand that for us also, maybe when we see in shorter time frames, zoomed in view, things may seem kind of, why is this happening, what is happening? But in the long run, our relationship with Krishna, can we understand the same kind of reciprocation and protection?
Well, everything is proportionate to the sense of that we have of taking shelter. 30%, 50%, 80%, proportionate to. So we may or may not, proportionate to. But so, even if it's like minuscule, like this example of Putana, minuscule. She was a bad lady. She killed kids. That was her thing. Bad person. Proportionate to. And certainly Krishna can give his mercy without a cause. We're not waiting for that. We want. So progressively, you and I and each one of us need to continue to make steps towards Krishna, not in a mechanical way, like he's obliged because I made some steps, now he's got to do his thing. But, in a loving way, as any relationship is a loving reciprocation. And as that love grows and grows, then there's protection. And everything is, yoga kshema vahamyam. But then there's the precondition. Unto those who are constantly devoted to me. So that's what we strive for. And Krishna's reciprocation is going to be there, no worries. Look, you're a mother, right? Yeah, you. So you don't have to be told to take care of your children. Krishna doesn't need to be told to take care of us. And how to. He doesn't need the children to tell him how to take care of the children. He knows. We don't. And we're in his care. External energy, internal energy, that's the choice. And then, proportionate to. Then we're in the care of the external and in the care of the internal, or proportionate to. But he's calling us. So, say yes. We're not so consistent saying yes. That's the problem. Not the problem isn't over on Krishna's side. We're inconsistent. Because we're covered. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. There we go.
Maharaj, thank you for such a wonderful class. Prabhupada said that we actually, we haven't ever left the spiritual world. It's just like in a dream,
Yes.
we dream, and when we wake up, we are back into, who our identity is. And so can you please expand on that a little bit?
A little bit. Well, there's many ways to expand. One of them is to talk about time. Time is eternal. And then there's the illusory past, present, and future time. And past, present, and future time is essential for material activity. Without past, present, future time, there's no material activity. So we're functioning in the past, present, and future material time condition. But actually time is eternal. So we are eternally connected to Krishna, and at the same time, we're covered by forgetfulness that's facilitated by time and guna and karma and all these other things that Krishna showed Brahma. That's our eternal position, is to be with Krishna. But these other energies we're covered by illusion that has different forces. But that's our eternal position. And we it's the same example before, amnesia. The son, Prabhupada's example, consistent example. The son may forget his father, the father never forgets his son. The son goes away, and he forgets his father. The father doesn't forget the son. There is a relationship. In the material side, so what to speak of spiritual side? There's an eternal relation with Krishna that is forgotten within this past, present, and future material energy place. But it's actually there eternally intact, just in a dormant state. As the example you just gave, like sleeping. When we're sleeping, we're not paying attention to what we're up to when we're awake, because we're sleeping. And then there's another reality going on when we're sleeping. And then we wake up, you forget that other reality, and you resume. So the eternal reality is time is eternal. We're with Krishna, but forgot it.
Maharaj, could it also mean that because time in the spiritual world is longer and it's just a moment here, our material existence?
It's not just not longer, it's eternal.
Yes, so, to me it's very heartening when I think about this, because it's really not, material life is not too much of consequence, really.
Yeah. We want happiness. We want enjoyment. We want to love and be loved. And our attention is being directed in the wrong places. In the temporary, past, present, future. So but that an eternal reality is meant to be revived, and the system of yoga is to again make that connection. The Bhakti Yoga is the topmost of yoga systems, so make that connection again. And yes, it's heartening. And at the same time, there's some people in the room who speak often about, the long struggle. And I get lost in that struggle. Yeah, so that's okay. Stay in good association. Stay in, as far as possible, stay with the sound vibration that pure devotees give. A perfect place for that is Prabhupada's books. Continue to read Prabhupada's books and hear his recorded lectures, and be in the company of other devotees who are well connected to that same disciplic succession and message, and it will happen. By nature's arrangement, it will happen that one will get closer and closer to that which is eternal, which we have forgotten. Okay, anything online? Okay, do we have a microphone?
First question is from Shiva Pittala Prabhu. In this lifetime, we are accruing some credits with our devotional service.
Yes.
How do we protect our credits in this lifetime so that we do not start from zero in the next lifetime?
We don't do what?
We do not start from zero.
Oh, you don't have to worry about it. Krishna will worry about it. We don't start from zero. It's in Krishna's account. And he's a good treasurer. The teaching in Bhagavad Gita is any svalpa, any even small performance of devotional service is your eternal bank account, spiritual bank account. And it's never lost. You don't have to maintain that bank account. Krishna does. So you advance 1%, it's never lost. Next lifetime, you start at 2%. Even if you, go cuckoo and do cuckoo things, it's never lost. It's always there. And then 2%, and then it's the eternal account that Krishna maintains.
Girivaradhari Prabhu's question. How can we check if our false ego is growing or reducing?
How much are you thinking of Krishna and how much are you thinking of yourself? Next.
Hema Sundari Mataji from India. If we had arguments with someone and they overreacted, still we are trying to resolve the fight and putting efforts to improve the relationship, but the other person is still in the same angry mood. I'm trying to be patient and give space to the person, but somehow I'm also feeling a lot of anger too. How to save my consciousness?
Well, you take responsibility for your own actions, and you involve yourself with expectations and, mode of passion. I want this result. Passion, expectations, and you'll be disturbed. You don't blame the other person. And so what do? Let go of those expectations and that sense of hurt and that sense of anger and all that stuff. Just let go. It starts with tolerate. In Krishna's words in Bhagavad Gita. Tang satikshasva bharata. And Nasate vijite bhavo, no bhavo vijite sata. That's a really good one. You don't invest in asat, you invest in sat. And that's what learned tattvadarshi bihi. Learned persons do that. So if you're not behaving like a learned person, associate with learned persons, and it'll help you become a learned person. And you can be more tolerant and invest in sat instead of asat. You'll see this other person as spirit soul, not as, this behavior, that behavior. See them as spirit soul and try to serve them.
This is from Radha Vallabha Prabhu. Continuation of earlier question of Krishna's merciful nature. So while Krishna reciprocates to our efforts or desire, ultimately the Lord's merciful nature manifests for Putana or Sadhaka. So while Krishna reciprocates to our efforts or desire.
Krishna does what?
Reciprocates.
Yes.
With our effort and desire, ultimately the Lord's merciful nature, does it manifest for Putana or a sadhaka in their final moments?
Why not? Every moment. I'm not really clear what the question is, but is it dependent upon moments? And it's not dependent upon moments. It's not dependent upon this person, that person. His nature is consistent, and it's every moment. Our position keeps changing, but his doesn't. Okay. We're done, yes? Okay. Thank you very much. And Srila Prabhupada ki jai.